The last time I spoke with you all, I introduced you to the spiritual law of rhythm. In case you missed that talk, the spiritual law of rhythm states everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Rhythm compensates. In that message, I told you this. The Christed you is here to know itself fully. Hold on to a prosperous consciousness and know divine mind is always present in your life. And when it seems like you are adrift at sea, or maybe even caught in the undertow, and being ripped away from everything you have placed faith in, know that it is simply the law of rhythm pulling you out to sea, that it may push you further onto shore than you have ever imagined. A place where you are poised in a deeper, firmer, and taller place. I love the idea of the spiritual law of rhythm because we can use it to work in our favor to assist the Christ as me and the Christ as you to know itself. The law of rhythm is a tool for us as we seek to experience our divinity, to know that we are the Christ expressing at the point of us. I believe the key to having this experience is going beyond the knowing that divine mind is always present in my life. And as I wrote today's talk, I realized that I said that wrong. This is what's really true. Divine mind is always present as my life. Divine mind is always present as my life. And it's subtle, but it's imperative that you grasp the difference between in my life and as my life. In my life suggests duality. In my life implies that there is a deity somewhere out there that has an agenda. There's a deity out there that's going to grant you wishes or maybe smite you. You might feel like that's okay. In my life is a level of consciousness where we believe ourselves to be victims of consciousness, victims of circumstance. Life happens to us. When we live from this place, we give up our power. When we live from this place, we deny our own divinity. In contrast, as my life reflects the core principle of unity. God, the eternal presence, is everywhere present all the time. As my life recognizes that oneness is the true essence of the universe and underscores our relationship with the universe and one another. And choosing as my life requires bravery. Because as my life means you give up victimhood and you claim ownership of your experience. Choosing as my life means I see the greatest spiritual law in its truth. The all is mind. The universe is mental. That everything we see and experience in our physical world has its origin in the invisible mental realm. It tells us that there is a single universal consciousness, the universal mind, from which all things manifest, from which we all manifest. All energy and matter at all levels is created by and is subordinate to the omnipresent universal mind. Your mind is part of universal mind. Your reality is a manifestation of your mind. And this is serious stuff, folks. Your mind is a part of universal mind. Your reality is a manifestation of your mind. And this is a foundational belief in New Thought metaphysics. In your programs today, it's stated this way. We create our experiences by the activity of our thinking. Mind, idea, expression. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. And your mind is a center of divine operations. My mind is a center of divine operations. And this is true because we are one with the universal mind. You are one with the universal mind from which all things manifest. I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest. Close your eyes. I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest. Claim that truth now. Together. I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest. And you can open your eyes. And this is what I want you to do, because you just recited something. Will you stand up? Stand up and claim this, because this is the truth. Say it with me. I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest. Say it again. Claim it.
I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest.
Take a breath. My mind is the center of divine operations. I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest. And more than 7 years have passed since I first felt the truth of this statement. I felt it in the core of my being, and it is a sobering realization. I'm responsible for my experience of all this. It's a sobering realization that my life is the perfect mirror of my thoughts, my beliefs, and my dominant mental attitude. Your life is the perfect mirror of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your dominant mental attitude. This is true because of the spiritual law of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves, everything vibrates. The spiritual law of vibration tells us that the whole universe is but a vibration. And science confirms this. Science confirms that everything in the universe, including you and including me, is pure energy vibrating at different frequencies. And the axiom that like energy attracts like energy, well, that's what the law of attraction is based on. That's where Abraham Hicks got their information. Like energy attracts like energy, and that is the foundation in spiritual law. Everything that we experience with our 5 physical senses is conveyed through vibrations. And the same applies to the mental realm. Our thoughts are vibrations. All our emotions are vibrations. And unconditional love, that sense where we love one another, it is the highest and most subtle of the emotional vibrations. And hate, it's the most densest, it is the most base. The power of our thoughts and our emotions is immense. In spiritual economics, Unity minister and theologian Eric Butterworth says it like this. There is a great idea that you will encounter again and again on your quest. Your quest meaning your study of metaphysics. You are a living magnet, constantly drawing to you the things, the people, and the circumstances which are in accord with your thoughts. In other words, you are where you are in experience, in relationships, even in financial conditions because of what you are. And what you are is where you are in consciousness. My prosperity, I'm responsible. My joy, I'm responsible. My sadness, I'm responsible. Everything I'm experiencing, I am responsible. And the same is true for you if you're brave enough to step into that truth. Whatever you are experiencing, you are responsible. And here is the great news. We can learn to control our mental vibrations. We can learn to control our mental vibrations at will. And if we learn to control our mental vibrations, we can begin to control what we experience with our 5 physical senses. And I know that this is contradictory to what we have always been taught. Because for so long, haven't most of us placed our faith in the idea that our thoughts and our emotions are a result of our circumstance. That's what I always believed. But in spiritual truth, it is our circumstances that are the results of our thoughts. The results of our beliefs. They're the result of our dominant mental attitude. You got that?
Yes.
The circumstances are the result of your thoughts. If you wake up tomorrow morning and you go, today's going to be a great day, it's going to be a great day. And if you wake up tomorrow morning and you go, today's going to suck. Do you know what? You're going to find every reason to believe that today sucks. This can be a challenging concept to accept. Especially if what we're experiencing is not filled with joy and rainbows and unicorns and dolphins. And it can be downright frustrating at times to assume this kind of responsibility for life experiences. I know it can be frustrating. Here's one of my frustrating stories. In July of last year, 2013, I let a complete stranger move into my house with me. Richard was freshly graduated from Appalachian State University. He had a master's degree in public administration. He was moving to Greensboro to start his dream job as a probation and parole officer. Having a housemate provided me with some extra money for household expenses, and it allowed me to maintain the lifestyle that I like. You know, I like to eat out. I like to take my trips to the mountain where I get to dance with my magic men. And it turned out to be more than a housemate. We were fast friends. We shared meals, sometimes an inappropriate sense of humor, and we had many long, heartfelt conversations. And this past June, he interviewed for a federal probation and parole officer position. So he paid July's rent and told me he would be headed to Maine before the end of the month. So he got that job in Portland. And as the truth of all this was settling in, I was also preparing to finally do something about the water problem in my yard. If you don't know about the water problem in my yard, go to the website, watch October's talk called Settle Down. big water problem. So anyway, I meet with this guy who's going to bring over a backhoe, and we're going to start digging up my yard. We're going to start moving dirt because Joe White, the amazing Joe White, is that right today? Joe White had come to my house, and he had surveyed it, and we knew the pitch of the land. We knew how deep we needed to dig. The pipes were going to go in the right direction at the right slope, so the water was going to get carried away and not come in my house. It was going to be awesome. There was a plan. And I was excited. Things were going to get settled. And I got lost in memories of wading through water. And I got lost in future plans of actually using my backyard without being swarmed by mosquitoes. I was living in the past and I was living in the future, and I was not present in my body. And the meeting with the backhoe guy, it was great. It was wonderful. I felt sure that he knew what he was doing. We agreed on a price. He was coming the next day to dig up my yard. But I needed to go to the bank and get some cash because I had to pay him. So I jumped in my Jeep and I started my Jeep and I put it into reverse, and this is what happened. My life is a mirror reflecting perfectly to me my thoughts, beliefs, and dominant mental attitude. At the time, my dominant mental attitude was one of lack. I was scared I wasn't going to have enough money to pay for the work in my yard. I was worried about losing the rental income I had been receiving from having a housemate. I was sad that I was losing a friend because he was moving away. So I created a circumstance that would surely cost me money. And in my mind, I decided that it would probably cost me a friendship because I just knew that Nancy Durand was going to be done with me. When I want to take a trip to victim consciousness, I can go quickly. I've got a bag of panic. So I was laying in my driveway, dry heaving, wallowing in guilt and shame, and finally I made my way back to work. About 3 hours later, I remembered I hadn't eaten anything. My blood sugar was dropping, I was getting a headache, and so I told my team at work, I've got to go get something to eat. I couldn't eat earlier. They are very supportive. I work with an amazing group of people. And our phlebotomist, Tanisha, looked at me and she said, "That's fine. Go get you some food. But this time, use your mirrors." But this time, use your mirrors. Your life is a mirror reflecting perfectly to you your thoughts, beliefs, and dominant mental attitude. And you can learn to control your thoughts, beliefs, and dominant mental attitude, and thus change the vibration that is attracting each and every experience of your life. I remember the first time I read that I could learn to control my mental vibrations, and I thought, how do I do that? How do I learn to control my mental vibrations? So I've discovered a few things. I'm going to share 5 of them with you today that work for me. Some of you may do some of these things. You may do them all. If you don't, I invite you to try them out. First, stay present. I put my full awareness into the present moment and be aware of the thoughts, beliefs, and mental attitude I am projecting. If the thoughts I am having do not have a foundation in love, then I try and shift them to a higher vibration. 2, practice gratitude. This very simple practice, focusing on things for which I have to be grateful, always shifts my vibration to a higher, more loving level. 3, settle down. I take time every day to visit headquarters, the Bill and Share College. I cultivate the awareness of oneness in the core of my being. I relax into the spiritual law of rhythm and know that divine order is always present, and that no matter what I have created, it will turn out for the best and highest good of everyone involved. And I invest in creating what it is that I do want. For I pray without ceasing. I remind myself every day that every thought is a prayer. I get in touch with the thoughts, beliefs, and dominant mental attitude that I carry. And I am proud to tell you that I have worked with a counselor for many years to uncover the deeply held beliefs that may no longer serve me. For this, I don't use a friend, because I want someone who has no emotional investment in my life. Someone who will point out readily and easily some of the crazy stuff that comes out of my mouth. And finally, number 5, I create community. I spend lots of time in the company of like-minded metaphysicians. People who are willing to take control of their experience and not live in victimhood all the time. People who are willing to be real with me and point out when what I say, what I think, and what I do are not in alignment. The Christ as Jesus did not say, I have come here that you might have life and it be a struggle and be filled with pain. The Christ as Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. And all it takes is knowing who we are. I and the Father are one. I am one with universal mind, from which all things manifest. I need to tell you the end of the story. I'm standing in the parking lot at the Amtrak station. I got tears rolling down my face, and telling Nancy the sad story, because she was on vacation visiting the grandkids, and I couldn't ruin the vacation. And this is where the big shift happened in me, and this is why I create community. Because Nancy started laughing. Nancy said, "Why are you crying?" No one was hurt, right? No. You have insurance. I do. Okay, accidents happen. She was done. And she was right on all accounts, except it wasn't an accident. It was an experience that I created out of my lack consciousness and out of my fear. Once I got clear on what beliefs were charging my vibration, I got back on my prosperity soapbox. And I started affirming, I am a channel of prosperity. I am a channel of prosperity. And the result of all this, my car insurance will go up. It's going to be about $720 over 3 years. That's $40 a month. Only $40 a month. And I was worried about that, but then I kept affirming, I am a channel of prosperity. They're like, that doesn't sound prosperous. But then my neighbor, I'm digging up my yard, I'm digging up my neighbor's yard, I'm putting in lots of pipe because I don't want my house to flood. My neighbor decides, hey, I want to help you pay for this. I want to help you pay for this. And then last Saturday, I've been working in the yard. I'm filthy dirty. I probably stink. And someone stopped by my house and gave me a gift of $750 to help pay for the labor to get this fixed. And then on Thursday, Nancy bought me lunch. And then on Thursday night, My mom and dad bought me dinner. I am a channel of prosperity. I am one with universal mind from which all things manifest. I am a channel of prosperity. And from now on, I'm going to use my mirrors to see what thoughts, beliefs, and dominant mental attitude I am vibrating. And to make sure there's no one parked behind me. And I invite you to do the same. Use your mirrors. Namaste.